Great. So welcome everyone to this webinar focusing on learning to present and studying to life leadership programs. I'm really happy to join you today. I did all the team as well as an excellent group of IFLA volunteers, leaders in different sections, and to talk about this. I'm Steve, Director for External Affairs at IFLA. So I need to be quick with my introduction because I want us to get into the subject quickly, but our goal with this webinar today is to firstly give you some insights and ideas about the resources that are available to you with your reflection about the development of leadership programs, to explore a little bit about different ways that you can actually use them, and then to reflect more broadly on leadership training and libraries. This is a theme that is significant, as it's a theme that we see as being closely linked to the future sustainability of our sector as a whole. And so one that we're really interested in focusing on, not just for ourselves, but also developing across the library field as a whole. In terms of our agenda, we'll start with a presentation of the AFLI report from the AFLI team, the Federation of Libraries Information. I will then give a short presentation about the accompanying IFLA guide that we produced that went along with it. And then I'm really looking forward to some expert responses and discussion from Helen Chan from the section on continuing professional development and workplace learning, and Nick Oxon and Mr. Visas from the management and marketing section. So talk a little bit about some of the themes, the trends that these reports bring up, and what we might learn from them, but also broader lessons, other angles that we should be considering when we think about how to build up the habit of leadership training programs around the world that work for people. So just before handing over then to AFLI, I should say some thanks, obviously to the Federation of Libraries Information, to the Gates Foundation, whose funding made this possible by Signal, and to all who actually contributed to surveys to help put this work together, help make this happen. So with that, I think I am going to step back and I'm going to hand over to the AFLI team. Over to you.
Well, good morning, afternoon, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to be with all of you in this webinar to introduce an important initiatives that support the future of leadership in the library and information sector. Let me start with a question. Who will lead the libraries of tomorrow? Will it be someone already at the top? Someone just starting their career? Someone who challenges the status quo, or someone who has been quietly preparing all along? Leadership doesn't just happen. It's shaped, it's learned, it's built intentionally through opportunities, through mentorship, and through programs that understand what it takes to lead in a world as complex and fast changing as ours. I'm delighted to take you in the heart of the Learning to Lead, a scan of global library field practice, a new report released by IFLA that asks a crucial question. Are we preparing our libraries leader well enough? And are we doing it globally, inclusively, and effectively? This report is just more than a scan. It's a call to action, drawing on real-world leadership program across the global library field. It uncovers what's working, what's missing, and what's next for leadership development in libraries, archive, museum, and beyond. Before we dive into the details, allow me to introduce the team behind this study as shown in the photos on the screen. I'm Heba, the Vice President of the Arab Federation for Libraries and Information, and I am Libraries Technical Manager at Egypt Society for Culture and Development. It's a non-governmental organization that maintains public and children library. And I'm also a member of CPDWL. Professor Imad Saleh, Head of Department of Information Science, Helwan University, and Vice President of the Egyptian Library Association. Professor Hassan Srehi, he is the President of the Special Library Association Arabian Gulf Chapter. And Ms. Rasha Ismail, she is my colleague. She is the Head of Program Sector at Egypt Society for Culture and Development. I'd like to note that the entire team was part of the supervisory group that implemented the remarkable e-training leadership program, the International Network of Emerging Library Innovators, Middle East and North Africa, conducted by AFLI and funded by the Global Libraries Initiative at Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It's also worth mentioning that 3 alumni of the program are also contributing to the data collection efforts. Leadership programs play a vital role in empowering the next generation of library professionals. IFLA, in collaboration with Teaching IFLA Global Libraries, issued a call for a contractor to map and analyze a leadership program in the library and related fields. The aim is to provide an overview of their objectives, methodologies, and impacts at national, regional, and international levels. AFLI submitted the proposal and it was approved in August. The agreement was signed in last September, in line with the timeline provided. The first draft was submitted on November and followed by a validation workshop. Then we submitted the final report by the end of December. The timeline ensures that the findings are reviewed, refined, and translated into practical next steps for shaping leadership development in libraries worldwide. This study is financed by Gates Foundation via SIG. So today, I will guide you through some of its key insights, starting with how we selected the leadership programs that form the foundation of this important work. The methodology we used to conduct this study, we primarily relied on survey-based approach. Our work began with a comprehensive literature review to build a theoretical understanding of leadership development and identify similar reports. We also reviewed existing program documentation, evaluation, and reports to gather data on methodologies, outcomes, and impact. The questionnaire was our main data tool. It went through 3 internal review rounds, followed by feedback from external experts. IFLA staff then conducted a pilot test, after which final revisions were made. Data was collected between October and November 2024 using a web-based survey in English, distributed to 143 IFLA associations and over 1,129 IFLA volunteers and individuals. To strengthen the data set, we included leadership program identified in the Arabella Advisor 2015 report, updating their information through target online research and content analysis. In total, 66 leadership programs were reviewed. We then conducted statistical analysis to identify patterns and trends with results rounded for clarity in the final report. For the selection, to ensure a focused and meaningful review, we applied a set of clear and consistent criteria when selected leadership program. The program had to be specifically designed for leadership training or development, and they needed to be situated within library, museums, archives, and other information institutions. We prioritized program and that outlined clear learning objectives and addressed current relevant issues in the field. It was also important that the target audience was well defined. Equally, we looked for diversity in teaching methods, whether through workshop, mentorship, learning, as well as a strong mechanism for assessment, feedback, and overall evaluation. Finally, we considered programs that encourage networking, professional collaboration, and that clearly articulated the expected time commitment and duration. So now I will hand it over to Professor Ahmed, who will speak in more details about the finding and the outcomes of the study. Over to you, Professor Ahmed.
Thank you, Dr. Heba. First of all, I would like to thank Stephen and IFLA to give us the opportunity to conduct this study and to the invitation to present our work. I am truly honored to be here with such esteemed colleagues and dedicated professionals. I will now share some of key findings from our recent work examining leadership development programs across these sectors. I promise to keep it light as much as I can and avoid going deep into statistical numbers. When looking at where this leadership program operates, nearly half are national in scope, meaning they focus on strengthening leadership within single country. At the same time, about one-third have an international reach, and fifth are regional, working across neighboring countries. Next, please. Regarding program goals, these programs aim to achieve leadership development stands out as the main focus. It's at the heart of nearly three-quarters of them. Many also work to encourage innovation, build stronger networks and partnership, foster professional skills, and promote the sharing of knowledge. A smaller one, yet meaningful group of programs even aim to deepen community engagement and advocacy efforts. In terms of the time participants are expected to dedicated, most programs strike a manageable balance. Around third ask for 4 to 6 hours per week. Some are more intensive, requiring 7 to 9 hours or even more than 10 hours weekly. On the other hand, on the other end of the spectrum, only small number of programs ask for lighter touch with 1 to 3 hours of commitment. When it comes to how these programs are delivered, flexibility clearly leads the way. Two-thirds uses a hybrid format, blends in-person and online learning. Face-to-face format are still present in about 1 in 5 cases, while fully online programs are rare, making up less than 10%. Over half offered an international and annual basis. A smaller number run more frequently throughout the year, while some appear less often, either every 2 years or as a special one-time initiatives. Regarding target audience, leadership programs cater to a wide professional spectrum. Public librarians form a largest participants group, followed closely by those in academic and national libraries. Still, nearly half of all initiatives are designed with a broader audience in mind, including archivists, school and museum librarians, special library staff, and other allied professionals. About career level of participants, leadership development opportunities tend to focus on this already established in their careers. The majority of participants are either mid-career professionals or senior manager, making up nearly three-quarters of all attendees. By contrast, early career individuals represent a smaller portions, indicating these programs are more often designed for experienced staff seeking to enhance or expand their leadership roles. One encouraging aspect of leadership programs we surveyed is their commitment to accessibility. A significant portion is either fully funded through sponsorships or and grants or charges no participants fees at all. Over 80% offer some form of financial support. Only minority really rely entirely on participant paid fees, which suggests a broad effort to reduce financial barriers and open doors for wider participants. When we look at what these leadership programs teach, the emphasis become clear. They are preparing participants not just to manage, but to lead in a rapidly evolving landscape. Leadership and management skills top the list, forming the backbone of nearly all offering. But there is also strong attention to advocacy and community engagement, strategic planning, and change management and the projects execution are all central theme, equipped leaders to guide their institution through complexity. There is also room for forward-looking skills like innovation, digital adaptation, diversity, and inclusions. About the language, English emerged as a dominant language, of course, of instructions used in vast majority of programs. It was the only language used in nearly three-quarters of the initiatives. but still there were encouraging signs of linguistics diversity. Programs in Arabic, Spanish, French, and other such as Estonian, Romanian were also noted. We looking also at the formats of the leadership initiatives. Fellowship leads the way. These are often longer term and providing participants with opportunities for deep, often self-directed learning, sometimes which within a cohort. Another one is residential programs are also quite prominent, offering immersive in-person experiences. Hyper models blending the physical and digital are gaining traction due to their flexibility. Fully online formats exist, but are less common, and workshops, though valuable, tend to be limited in reach due to geographical and time constraints. Regarding training methods, the program employ a rich mix of training methods designed to support different learning preferences and goals. Workshops are the most common one, focusing on hands-on experiential learning. Mentorship plays a vital role, offering tailored professional guidance. Also, group discussions are widely used to encourage peer exchange and collaborations. Guest speakers contribute fresh perspectives, while case studies and online modules blend critical analysis with flexible formats. Lectures and coaching add the structure and personalized support. Also, some programs include field trips and collaborative research projects like Mina Enely, connecting theory to real-world context. Forum also, though less common, provide additional space for ongoing dialogue and reflections. Finally, the learning assessment in leadership program tends to favor reflective and practical methods over traditional testing. The most common approach is self-assessment and encouraging participants to evaluate their own growth and areas for improvement. Project-based assessment are also widely used, allowing learners to apply knowledge through real-world tasks and collaborative outputs. Internal evaluators and to lesser extent external reviewers contribute to maintaining program quality and objectivity. In contracts, exam and quizzes are used sparingly, reflecting broader shift toward assessing critical thinking and applied skills over rote knowledge. That is all for me, and I think it's enough for and I hand over to Rasha.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to sincerely thank IFLA again for their trust and granting us this important responsibility. It has been an inspiring journey exploring the global landscape of leadership programs in the library field. About challenges, one of the most significant challenges reported by leadership programs was participant engagement, especially maintaining motivation throughout longer or hybrid programs. Many participants indeed found it difficult to stay committed due to work overload or competing priorities. Another issue was the diversity of participant needs. Some programs included a wide range of professionals: public librarians, museum staff, archivists, early career and senior professionals, all in the same cohort. That made it hard to tailor content that suited everyone equally. Technical limitations were also mentioned, particularly in less connected regions. These include poor internet access, lack of devices, or limited digital literacy, challenges that impact online learning significantly. Resource limitations, we mean both financial and human, were another key obstacle. Also, some programs lacked enough funding to offer scholarships, travel grants, or even to continue operating annually. Others struggled with limited staff capacity to support mentorship, or follow-up activities. Time commitment, it's another issue. It was also an issue. Many mid-career professionals couldn't spare 4 or 6 hours per week consistently, even though that was the average program demand. This led some to drop out or skip key sessions. Finally, program sustainability was a concern. Several respondents mentioned that once external funding, especially from major donors like Gates Foundation, ended, they found it difficult to keep the program running or to scale it up. Despite these obstacles, many programs demonstrated adaptive strategies. This is good news. The good news are they introduced modular content and flexible schedules to suit participants with different time zones and work patterns. Some developed mentorship component that helped participants stay engaged through peer or expert support. Several used low-tech communication tools like WhatsApp or email to maintain contact and share updates. A few established post-program alumni networks to ensure long-term engagement and leadership growth. So in short, the challenges included participant engagement, diverse learner needs, technical barriers, financial limitations, and sustainability concerns. But the good news is most programs found ways to adapt, innovate, and continue creating impact despite those obstacles. About inspiring programs, next, please. Yes, the inspiring programs. Now, let me briefly share some of the standout leadership programs highlighted in the report, what we call inspiring programs. These programs stood out because they demonstrated the strong impact, innovative approaches, or long-term sustainability. For example, NLE MENA, of course, and NLE Asian created regional networks of emerging library leaders who continued to collaborate long after the program ended. The Asian Public Libraries Information Network focused on capacity building and cross-country learning in Southeast Asia, fostering regional solidarity. AFLI, International Young African Library Innovators, gave voice and training to early career professionals across Africa with a strong focus on advocacy and innovation too. Leading Libraries, UK, is another great example of a national program that successfully built leadership capacity through structured mentoring and project-based learning. These programs not only trained individuals, but also helped shape institutional culture and created leadership pipelines that continue to evolve. What's inspiring is that these initiatives show how leadership programs can be transformative, not just for individuals, but for entire communities and professional ecosystems. Let me go through the attachments. Yes. The report includes rich appendices, like the actual survey tool we use to collect data. There is also a full description of all 66 leadership programs categorized by type and region. We've added lists of partner institutions, including IFLA associations and regional bodies. And finally, you will find a dedicated section on inspiring case studies programs that stood out for their innovation or long-term impact. Okay. Thank you.
So thank you very much. That's a really well presented presentation, which I think gives you an idea of the ambition of the project that was carried out and the sorts of data that was put together. I think before handing over to our discussants, respondents, I'm going to share a little bit about an additional piece of work that we carried out within IFLA, based on the evidence and based on the data that was collected by AFLI. And the idea with this is that the AFLI data gives us an idea of what the majority of programs do here or this or another thing. I think what we were keen to do is break that down to take the data a little bit further and recognizing that there's no such thing as an average library leadership program. These will be adapted circumstances, and of course the reasons why you carry out a leadership program will vary. And so the idea with this additional report that we put out that really marries in, that ties in well with that AFLI report, is to firstly offer a structure for thinking through, so what are the questions you want to look at when you're trying to design a leadership program, to allow understanding of how other programs assess these. So, for example, if you have a particular goal or a particular sort of area of focus or target group, what other programs are actually doing that, what other characteristics do those have, and then to really dig into that data in order to make it easier to identify potential references or sources of ideas, sources of insight. So the way this publication is put together, it's organised into a set of direct questions that hopefully allow you to dig in. So firstly, that question of what problem you're trying to solve. So for example, you have heard there are programs that are focused on building up capacity to manage a library. Some are more focused on advancing new leaders, some are focused on innovation, some are very strongly focused on diversity. And so as you dig in, look at which programs, if you want to develop a diversity program, where might you look for examples? At which level you operate? If some operate regionally, some nationally, some internationally. Again, it may depend on where you want to focus, where you're going, but again, you can find those examples. Target audience, here we'll talk a little bit about the level, so people who are starting careers, mid-career, further in careers, but also different types. Again, you can find those examples. Cohort size as well. So, for example, we see that it tends to be that international programs, those focused on senior leaders will tend to be smaller. Those focused on early career people or training them specific issues, specific skills will tend to be bigger. There's a look at who's best placed to deliver. It's not always a library association that does it. Sometimes it's a single institution, sometimes it's the ministry, sometimes it's entirely a third party. So again, you can look at those examples that are there, look at where they apply. How you go about covering costs, so there are different models there. Some courses are for free, some courses do actually provide payment. But you can also do some interesting lessons about how to pick up interesting lessons about how different people go about it. So, for example, the data shows that especially courses aimed at people early in their careers will tend to offer them scholarships. Those for people late in their careers, maybe there'll be variable pricing, but it's not always the same. Subjects to cover, again, there's a wide variety. Longer courses tend to cover more subjects, shorter courses could cover fewer, which is obvious enough. Format of programs, so that shift between hybrid, purely online, purely offline. We can see that international courses tend to be hybrid, but actually often local courses will be purely online because people have other opportunities to meet together. So again, the model you're following there, so we've got ahead. Ways to track progress. I think we've talked a lot about the value of surveys, but there are efforts, especially for people who are more advanced in their careers. You do more self-evaluation, you expect that people can use those sorts of tools, whereas for people who are newer in their careers, there are more quizzes, short exercises to track this. And then finally, different ways of promoting long-term connections. Social media tended to be more used amongst people who are early in their careers. Emails, go to conferences tend to be used amongst more senior people. But I think probably the most complicated looking, but I think also one of the most interesting elements of this is that attached to this publication, we have links to an Excel file, so a spreadsheet. But this actually allows you to look through the different models, the different examples that are there. And then this is the slide that looks at who we're using lots of different funding sources. And you can look through here, and if you're interested in those that are supported by, that are funded by governments, you can see that there's one from the Estonian Library Association, one from the Arab Plenty in Australia, African Library Information Association, AFLI as well. So you can find, so Ontario Library Service, so you can find those examples of which other programs have been in the same situation. So you you may be able to actually learn from. So there's a lot of this information is really valuable, and it won't tell you the example, it won't write your leadership program for you, but hopefully it gives you a sense of where you might want to look, where you might want to consult in order to actually inform yourself from the practice of others. And you can access this publication up here. Once our respondents start to talk, I'll put obviously the links to these two programs, all of these programs into the chat. So I'm then going to stop sharing my screen, and I'd like to hand over to our lead respondents, our discussants, to talk a little bit about any reflections, reactions to what we've heard, any other sort of further thoughts, where to go next, what sort of ideas come to mind. So given that it's a horrible time of night in Hong Kong, I'm going to hand over to Helen Chan. First of all, I'm very grateful for you staying so late for this.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen, for a nice introduction. And hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. I'm Helen Chan, the chair of the IFLA Continuing Professional Development and Workplace Learning Sessions, CPDWL. First and foremost, I'd like to express my deepest gratitude to Professor Imada Sasali and also Russia, Asma Hamza from the Arab Federation for Libraries and Information, AFI, for their insightful presentation on the report, Learning to Lead, a Scan of Global Library Field Practice. Your work has provided invaluable insight for the library profession worldwide. I'd also like to recognize Stephen Weber, IFLA's External Affairs Director, for his leadership in coordinating this webinar and his dedication to advancing global leadership initiatives. Stephen, thank you for bringing us together for this important discussion. A special mention goes to my colleague, Hibar Ismail from CPDWL. Hibar, your incredible contributions to leadership projects in the Middle East and North Africa region are truly inspiring. Your work exemplifies the impact that collaboration and dedications can have. And congratulations to AFI on the successful publication of this report earlier this year. It is a significant resource for the global library field and a testament to the importance of leadership development. As I reflect on the report, I see how closely its findings aligned with the mission of CPDWL. Leadership is at the heart of what we do. Like the report, we understand the critical role that strong leadership plays in fostering innovation, managing change, and supporting professional growth in libraries. At CPDWL, we actively support leadership development through our initiatives, including the webinar series, online and offline coaching programs, and continuing professional development guidelines. I'd like to take this opportunity to invite all participants of today's webinar to attend the CPDWL Open Session, Session 95 at the WLX 2025 in Astana. Well, the title, we imagining continuing professional development for a sustainable future, which will explore artificial intelligence and continuing professional development. Additionally, I encourage you all to join our coaching initiative sessions, hosted in collaboration with management and marketing sessions at the coming WLIC. Our programs focus on leadership, advocacy, and strategic planning, while also addressing areas like diversity, change management, and innovation. Key priorities highlighted in the report. By collaborating with IFLA's regional divisions and professional dealers, including our close partner, the Management and Marketing Session, NMN, whose representatives are also here today with us in the webinar, we foster global and cross-regional knowledge sharing to strengthen the library profession worldwide. The AFLI report and IFLA practical handbook together offer a wealth of information, including detailed survey data and references to specific programs that can guide future leadership initiatives. However, The handbook and the reference data on the spreadsheet, which are accessible even online, Stephen just showed us, also reveal significant gaps in regions like Latin America and Asia Pacific, where leadership programs are underrepresented. As a member of the IFLA Asia Oceania Regional Division Committee, I find it particularly concerning that out of the 59 responses included in the survey, only 5 came from Asia Oceania. So one of these responses is from the University of Hong Kong Libraries. The Hong Kong U is the institution where I work. These data highlight the urgent need to expand the leadership programs where individual regions and ensure opportunities are available for all types of libraries. It is clear that we must diversify and strengthen leadership development across all sectors of the library field. CPDWL is deeply committed to addressing these gaps. We aim to expand access to leadership programs, foster collaboration, and create initiatives tailored to the unique needs of different regions. Our work aligns with the inspiring global programs like the International Network of Emerging Library Innovators, Middle East and North Africa, and initiatives for young African library innovators, which empower librarians through regional networks and skilled building opportunities. The AFLI report and IFLA handbook serve as a roadmap for advancing leadership development globally. By working together, we can empower library professionals, strengthen leadership capacity, and ensure libraries remain vital to the communities they serve. Before I close, I'd like to thank the speakers and IFLA once again for organizing this valuable webinar. And let's carry this momentum forward by working together to empower library professionals, cultivate transformative leaderships, and uphold libraries as vital cornerstones of our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helen, for those words. The kindness of those words, but also I think that really valuable point that I think comes also in the report, that whereas we have quite a lot of data and it appears there's quite a lot going on in some regions, this is not even balanced around the world. And so the idea of bringing this reflex, bringing this habit of focusing on leadership and giving people the structures to develop those skills and those habits globally, that's something that we need to develop. And of course, thank you also for the work of CPDWL, which of course, I mean, this survey focused on leadership programs, but this is what you're doing all of the time. And so, of course, it doesn't really do justice to the work section there. So thank you very much. That's already a really valuable information. And I should say to everyone in the audience, please do, if you do have questions, please do use the Q&A function to ask them. But I'm now going to hand over to Nick from Management and Marketing.
Yes, thank you. Good day, good morning, good evening, everybody. My name is Nick Boksam. I'm the chair of the IFLA Management and Marketing section, so a peer of Helen. And like Helen, I would also first like to start with offering my congratulations and compliments and gratitude to all the researchers, not just those here, but also those who helped with the report. It was very impressive, very long, so it took a long while to get through, but it was very valuable, a lot of new insights. So I hope you also allow me to read from my notes, because it was so long. I had to take a lot of notes. And of course, also a big thank you to Stephen for the handbook. It also sounds very useful and helpful that you just presented. I have a couple of comments which go more in depth into the report itself. A thing that's valuable for our section to know, we work also on management and leadership topics, often in collaboration with CPDWL, that's Helen's section, is that in the programs that were mentioned, only about 9% address community engagement and policy advocacy. And we think that's a very important topic, growing in importance for librarians to engage in. Both community engagement and policy advocacy is essential for libraries in the coming years. So we think our section could take that into consideration for our new offerings of webinars, coaching sessions, blog posts, articles, etc. So that's one thing that's very valuable from your report, that is something we should maybe start focusing more on offering in our or including in our offerings. Secondly, I read that there was room to expand on a couple of emerging topics that are relatively new to the field that we could also look into to maybe pay more attention to. Two of those mentioned are data-driven decision-making. So how, as a leader, do you include data not only in your decision-making, but also in communicating? It often helps as a leader to really show the data that you base your decisions on, to convince others, to get people on board. So that's something we could look into. And in collaboration with other sections within IFLA, so we have sections that are focused on data and IT, etc. So that's a nice collaboration opportunity that I gained from your report. And another thing is digital leadership. That's also a cross area topic. So we more for the management and leadership angle, but we could involve experienced digital leaders who know how to implement digital strategies, digital solutions, digital opportunities in an organization. So that was very interesting to read from your report as well. The study also calls for more analytics in leadership training itself. So that's also an interesting angle. The leadership training could also benefit from using more analytics and more data. So for instance, that you use when you study case studies together with your group, with your fellow students, so to speak, you include metrics, you include dashboards, you include surveys, etc. So that's something we could maybe improve in leadership training itself. And the final topic is something that I would like to add from my experience within IFLA itself that I didn't find so much in the report, but might be interesting if you're ever looking into, could we do a further study? Could we do more research? That would be to focus on topics that are growing in importance, I think, around the world, but especially in my region, Europe, and also where Krista is from, and Stephen as well, by the way. Those include AI implementation in education. The European Union, for instance, has now put out a directive that you have to educate your workforce in AI ethics, AI skills, AI literacy, etc. That's also something that leaders should then focus on, of course, because nothing happens if you don't put leadership forward on that. Secondly, data privacy, a super important topic in Europe, maybe too important almost, because it's a bit restrictive, but also super important to really lead your library on, to show leadership on. And finally, sustainability leadership, also a really fascinating area. And libraries can play an important role in sustainability, setting the example for other fields, other organizations. And in total, that would lead to more holistic leadership, so that you include all those different elements and you really become a holistic leader who takes all those angles into account. But those are just some suggestions. Like I said, already more than enough to work on with the report that's here. So again, thank you very much and very impressive work. So I don't know if Krista maybe has anything to add from our section and from our perspective.
Yes.
Please do.
Thank you all. It was very interesting, and this survey is very needed, and this handbook also, it's very needed. And I'm very glad that Estonia was mentioned, and our program was really a great program, this 21st century, and it made the leadership program to the leaders of public libraries, because we had some things here, and the new central libraries were made in local authorities, and the responsibilities of the librarians grow, and they had to know the new skills, to have new leadership skills. But I wanted to add to Nick's proposal about AI leadership and sustainability leadership. Also very important is the leadership for leaders, how to keep dialogue, how to communicate with your owners. It means like government or local authority, how to keep dialogue, and also how to keep dialogue between library and the community, how the libraries can help communities and to be like a community centers. I think that this is also a very important topic this time, this century already, and then the new side of the leadership, how to be good communicator and to keep dialogue. Yes, thank you. And also I got the idea maybe to keep the webinars to share the experiences about these leadership programs in different countries. what the different associations or libraries have held. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. And know that, but both of those sets of ideas, like just going at them in the wrong direction. That idea of a space where it's possible to share ideas and experience is interesting. And I know that we are experimenting a little bit with communities of practice. I think we need to think a little bit about how to design that, but I can easily imagine that you could organize something where every month a couple of people present about their program. And then if you build up a sufficient sense of trust and engagement between people, also to ask hard questions and answer hard questions is always really powerful. And in addition, that those examples from Nick are interesting, although I suppose a bit of me thinks that to some extent AI is just the latest new technology that we've had to introduce, and General Data Protection Directive is the latest bit of legislation that we have to introduce. But I think there's an interesting piece in there about adapting to change, both in terms of rethinking your own function and rethinking things strategically, but also how do you generate the sort of cultural change within the organization, behavioral change within the organization to actually adapt things. I wanted to hand back to Professor Saleh, Heba, Rasha, to see if you had any immediate reactions to some of those points.
Well, let me say that thank you so much, first of all, for your comments. Well, I take some notes about the sustainability, the leadership sustainability, and actually I can say that the International Network of Emerging Library Innovators succeeded in that by conducting, we trained innovators, for example, and then after that, the innovators train their colleagues in on a national basis in their countries. So it was a very successful program, and we sustain the leadership by giving the opportunity for not only for the innovators, the 31 innovators that got training, but also for innovators from on the national level. So also I took some comments about what Krista said about how to communicate and how to keep the dialogue going between library and community. And this is, I think, it's very valuable to keep the conversation going. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Saleh, Rasha?
Thank you, Stephen. I totally agree with our colleagues Helen and Nick and Christia, and I have one suggestion about IFLA. Building on our results and the suggestions of our colleagues here, I think IFLA should set up a round table from several sections, from continuing educations and management and administration and IT sections to be to set a unified model for the development of leadership program. Take it in consideration all aspects, as Nick said. The digital leadership have to be with in collaboration with IT sections, and the aspects of managerial aspects should be with Nick, and so on. Yeah, I suggest Stephen to arrange this kind of meeting. Thanks all.
Thank you. The suggestions noted. We'll obviously have to pass that by the chairs and also the incoming chairs. Rasha, you were going to speak as well. Thank you.
Thank you all for this opportunity. I'm really honored to see you today and meet you. And I see my friends and my colleagues here attending the. I see the participant list. So hi Khadija, hi Clara, hi everyone. Actually, I'd like to introduce my thoughts about the communication or sustainable communicating with among communities and libraries, public libraries, actually. I think if we talk about that, I think we need to empower the outreach activities and go beyond the library walls and visit schools, markets, public spaces. I think also digital platforms and social media play an important role in such solutions to keep communication active between libraries and the communities. I think also collaborating with NGOs, as I work in NGO, by the way, and cultural institutions helps libraries stay connected and relevant. I think also we should listen from the community. We should listen from the community stories about their experiences and make a comfort space for our patrons to express. I think such solutions could be a model. It could be a model or a toolkit to help public libraries to be empowered to work better for the future. I think so, and thank you so much.
Thank you thank you very much for those points, and I think that underlining that point about the value of communications and partnerships, and I think also of working with other organisations. I know there's sometimes a tendency within the field to try and think that, well, libraries can do everything and therefore we should do everything. And firstly, that is an amazing recipe for burnout and just professional crashing and burning, but also it's not necessary. There's so much that can be done by actually working with others. Some of these points have been really interesting, that after the trend report last year, we brought together a group of young leaders, emerging leaders, to think a little bit about the skills needed. And I think a whole category of the skills they came up with that would be required to respond to the trends were precisely about partnerships. It was precisely about delivering through others, mobilizing others, spotting those opportunities to actually work together effectively. So I think that there's a lot in that. And I suppose final thing I'll say, and then I think if people have questions, please do ask them. Otherwise, we can finish a little bit earlier, especially given how late it is for some people. But the point that sort of came to me listening to some of this is that, especially in the accompanying guide, we talk about management skills and leadership skills. Although I realise to some extent it's not a clear distinction, and that there are some skills that really sort of sit in the middle. And that, maybe there's this practical management, but how to run a building and how to run a team of people. And we tend to say that leadership is not dependent. That's for management. If we're looking at leadership, that's not something that depends on your job title. That you can have the most junior job title imaginable and still be a leader, because you can still do things differently. You can still work with others. You can still innovate. You can still take a strategic viewpoint. So you don't need to be a director to do that. But actually, there's some skills in the middle that are around partnerships, around sort of reflecting on how to engage with technology, that really sort of sit between the two, that have both this managerial aspect and this leadership aspect, and where there's potentially a real sort of double dividend in how we work with them. So I don't see any questions coming in. So what I might just do is actually ask everyone here if you have a few sort of words that you want to sort of end with, any sort of final remarks or final thoughts, and then we'll close. So let's start with Heba and the AFLI team.
Well, for me, I think that we should more focus, I mean here by the organization and association of libraries across the world, IFLA, AFLI, and AFLIA, We should focus more on leadership and providing training for librarians, not only in public library, but for all library sectors, whether it's public, academic, or school libraries. We should provide them with up-to-date leadership programs, because from my experience in NLBina and our innovators that are now in, I guess, in better places, better position in their libraries or across, or they, I mean, they are now in IFLA, AFLI committees and section. So those leadership programs, it help a lot the librarians to be in a better position, and organization and association should focus more on them. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Saleh.
Thank you, Stephen. I have just something come to my mind. If it's applicable, think about making a directory, a web directory, or a page for the surveyed programs, and keep it updated to follow and to follow the steps of our colleagues, and to get more information about what had been done in other countries. Another suggestion come to my mind is we should think about to preserve the course materials outputs from this kind of leadership programs, because some of these programs has made a good efforts to build a content for the training, and it should be preserved in some way, because this is one requirement for sustainability of the content itself. Thank you, Stephen. That's all.
Thank you. Excellent. That's appreciated. Rasha.
Finally, I would like to express my appreciation to IFLA for its continuous efforts in empowering libraries worldwide. I believe that by working together, we can further strengthen the vital role libraries play in community development. Thank you. Thank you for everything, for your attention and for your support.
Thank you. Thank you. Kind words, but I think this is a collective effort. So, Helen.
Yes, I thank you, Stephen, and also everyone. I really agreed with all of you who share your view on collaboration, and because for the findings from the Learning to Lead report, along with the IFLA Leadership Handbook, provide us a strong foundations to address the challenges and opportunity in leadership development within the library profession. So I'm totally agree that we need to work together to make the importance of collaboration and inclusivity and innovations in shaping the future of libraries really happen. I believe by working together to bridge the regional gaps, the diversified opportunity, and also strengthening the leadership program, especially upon the trendy topics like AI and technology advancement, I'm sure we can empower the library professional to navigate the change and make a lasting impact in the near future.
Thank you so much. Nick.
Yes, I thought as a final comment that there was an interesting through line to what Krista, Rasha, and I said. I think there's potential for cross-pollination there. So, for instance, my point about policy advocacy, so that's influencing politicians and governments and funders. And Krista's point about communication and involving your community, and Rasha's similar comment to that as well. They all ask for the same kind of skills. You have to be a bit of a lobbyist, a good communicator, really telling your story well, convincing others. So I think that's a common topic that we've now raised. That's an important part of leadership, apparently. So we should maybe look into that and further thinking about that, and maybe involving it in one of our webinars or further research, etc. I thought it was an interesting overlap. So, and like the other said, thank you very much all for being here today. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. And then Krista.
Yes, maybe final paraphrase, let's make libraries great.
Let's do it.
Yes, and let's collaborate and share stories and share the experiences and make up our own stories.
Thank you so much. I feel a bit bad going after you because that was so well put. But so I guess it's just summarising what we've talked about. I think a couple of you have underlined obviously I think there's a lot of appreciation for the work that's taken place so far and for the work of AFLI and the importance actually of keeping this information alive. That we continue to keep it up. We take that Excel file, but try to turn it into a more living document and encourage people to engage with it, but also to strengthen it, because I think, as we know, we don't know how many leadership programs that actually are out there. We know how many the AFLI team found. So there should be more, there could be more that we haven't included and that we could. The importance of digging into that, having a space to actually bring people together, to explore some of these issues, but I think also to push forwards in areas around, as Nick was saying, around the intersection between communication and outreach advocacy, and actually take some of these broader lessons and apply them there. I think to me, it's struck me that's not a problem that is unique to us either. So there may be some very interesting possibilities for collaboration with others. I think that there's all the work around community mobilization is something that others have done as well that we can potentially really sort of learn from. And then I think just picking up on what Krista was saying at the end, that through this we can have constant movement, constant improvement in what we're doing, and hopefully really build up that culture of learning, but also that culture of leadership at all levels. So with that, I just want to say a big thank you to the AFLI team, so to Professor Saleh, to Heba, to Rasha, also to Helen at CPDWL, especially given how late it is at night, to Nick and to Krista for your contributions. It's been really good to hear from you. I've really enjoyed this as a webinar. So with that, I was going to say simply thank you everyone for taking part. We will get the recording up as soon as possible. And in the meanwhile, I just wish you simply a very good rest of the day, a very good, I think, night, basically in everyone's case. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You bye-bye.